Hello. If you're watching this video, I didn't make it. No, I'm kidding. I did make it. I just watched a lot of television or Netflix, and I recorded a lot of stuff and I wrote a lot of stuff, and I did it for you. But no, I'm happy. I liked it. I liked the show. I just thought it'd be good to give you just my overall thoughts on the season, just as a whole. Sorry if this isn't like easy to follow and understand. I didn't write my thoughts down or anything, so just it's kind of fresh. I'm just gonna kind of wing it. My name's Filup Molina, by the way. Ted got me a spray so I can talk more. Thank you, Ted. All right, so my grandest thought, like the thing that I kind of kept thinking like the whole time was just the fact that like, this main thing is the show's good, and one of the reasons I think it's good is because it's good at being a show whether or not these are superheroes. Like Jessica sure has super strength, but she like kind of barely uses it. She barely flies or barely leaps. And then I'm sure you're like, Kilgrave uses his powers a lot, but kind of, right? Because the show is ultimately more about like manipulation, right? Being in control of yourself, being in control of others, or at least wanting to be in control of others. And I feel like if this were written about a master manipulator, like Hannibal Lecter or something, one of these just like brilliant guys, the show still works. He can still talk people into killing themselves or doing things that are for his own benefit. So I think that's kind of like one of the most just impressive takeaways from the series is just like, wow, that's kind of how you do a show without making it about the fact that people have superpowers. They also happen to just be people that are interesting, right? Like, and that are going through some shit, and like that alone is an interesting thing to see. So kudos on that. The next thing I think is worth mentioning is I almost should have said it first, is David Tennant. Like, amazing, like such a great performance. By far, he made Kilgrave my favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe villain. Like, absolutely. The guy was a monster. He was sadistic and just like evil, but the duality that David Tennant was able to play, where that was one moment, another moment, boom, he's just your creepy ex-boyfriend, and it's sad, and he's just pathetic, right? And the fact that he could swing between those two like effortlessly and honestly genuinely be kind of funny sometimes, that is like just like bravo. That's amazing acting. I wouldn't nearly have liked this series as much if it weren't just how much he brought to it. That character, it's kind of scrappy that he seems to be dead, because that is like, that guy's up there pretty much with like the Joker from Dark Knight or something like that. There's very few villains that achieve this level of like monster and genuine terror. Like you're terrified of what this guy's capable of. I got an email, sorry. You're terrified of what this guy is capable of, but you're also scared as like a viewer, because the backstory they gave him, he's not evil because he's got a vendetta. He claims, he wants vengeance against Jessica or whatever, but the dude's evil because he grew up getting everything he ever wanted. And that means that's in the human condition somewhere. Like, humanity is capable of that. Not just, they didn't say the powers, it mixed up his brain and scrambled it. It was like, oh, what happens if you take a 10-year-old little dick of a kid and give him everything he wants? It's like a Twilight Zone episode. He goes nuts with power and he becomes terrible, and we all could have been that if we weren't raised right. Jessica even calls it out, oh, you're gonna blame bad parenting, but it's just interesting that like, it seemed like that definitely was a big part of it, was bad parenting, and just humanity is capable of awfulness, and that's sad. But that's part of why, like, being able to play a villain that makes you feel all these complex things, that is an amazing performance. That's why he's my favorite villain so far that we've seen. I'm tired of rambling so much, so I'm just gonna say things and we can chop them up. So here we go. I think this show is really an important one, and it's really obvious that it's important in terms of from a feminist perspective that women needed a show like this in the Marvel universe, and so did men. Everyone needs a show like this because yeah, obviously like girl power, and she's strong, and you know she don't need no help from no man, and that's all great, but we also, the whole series is about what women kind of go through all the time, and as a man watching it, you kind of do connect, oh, girls daily have to make sure that they get to be in control of their own lives. Like, they're constantly making an argument like, no thank you, I know what I want to do with my life, and society does kind of push them to do it. I remember there was that scene with the guy, the mechanic or something, and she's like, how do I get to the hospital? And he was like, and she wasn't nice, and he was like, rude girls are lonely girls, and she's like, yeah, that's the point. A lot of men can drive women to be that way, but they need to, because they like, if she's not rude to him, then he gets the wrong idea, and then it's a catch-22. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So the series, like Marvel movies and shows and all these things, they frequently they obviously like appeal to a male demographic maybe a little bit more than women. So this is like subversive, right? It's like a little mind control thing that the series creator was able to sneak in there of just like, I know a lot of dudes are watching this, so let's inform them a lot about what it's like to be a woman in New York, but kind of a woman anywhere. And that's why I think there's that importance of the smile thing. It's there from the first episode to the last episode, right? And it's just a thing that, you know, I know for a fact that a lot of girls have complained to me about this idea of smiling, that they have to smile, and when they're not smiling, strange men just approach them and just say, hey, you should smile. And it's like, why? I don't smile randomly. I'm smiling now for some reason, but you don't always have to smile. And if a smile is false, then what's the point of smiling? If you had to be told to smile, does it count? So the fact that no, it doesn't count means that the person requesting the smile, it's for them. You're smiling for their reasons, and that's what women go through all the time. They walk down the street, they're not smiling because they're walking on the street. They're not, like high on ecstasy or something. So they're not smiling, and if someone's like, hey, you need to smile, that's for that person. They're trying to control you for their own benefit. It's manipulation. So it runs through the entire series, but I think that's definitely where that's coming from. Guys, don't tell women to smile. It's not our business to tell them to smile. They'll smile when they're happy. Why don't you do something to make them happy, and then they'll smile? Just food for thought. But that said, so really smart idea putting that in this show that you know is going to be watched by a lot of guys. I think there's still room, obviously, for a lot more women in Marvel and in DC and everywhere and anything. But I really like seeing the feminine perspective on things. It was really opening when we saw a woman walk through New York for 10 hours or whatever it was. Eye-opening. Did I say eye-opening or just opening? I hope I said it's really eye-opening to see that. I just have a gaping hole after watching that. What am I saying? Anyway, so hopefully more things like this will do that for society until we're all just the freaking same. So much for not rambling, right? Sorry. There was a Daredevil, and there were some references. I know a lot of people are like, that's probably him in the opening credits, the boxer with a little bit of a bandana or whatever. Maybe that was him, maybe it wasn't. But, I didn't necessarily miss him by the end of the whole thing. I did like that we saw Claire Temple. I wanted to see her earlier, but then she wasn't there, but then she was there at the end. And she's so charming. She was just charming. I like seeing that little relationship. That also reminds me, I found the relationship between Jessica and Trish very charming too. I really like those two girls just hanging out and being funny with each other. That's great. What's next? Oh, rape. Going right to it. They made it rape in this. It's not rape in the comics. It's some people would say it's worse than rape. Some people wouldn't. But it almost was like that word wasn't even said in the comics. Like the comics dropped the F-bomb all the time, but they couldn't say rape. It's interesting. And so it's good that the show didn't like shy away from that. Like we're talking about a guy who is a freaking asshole. Anything he wants, he takes. Of course, he ends up raping women, and it's a very visceral, literal way to interpret what Jessica and Hope and mind control victims are suffering. It's very similar to the feelings of a rape victim. So to make it part of that story kind of just makes a lot of sense. Like we've never been mind controlled. I hope you haven't been mind controlled. So we don't know what that feels like, but we know the concept of rape and how terrible that would feel. And so it did help anchor it, I think, emotionally, to be able to be like, you don't like rape, right? That's what this feels like. Except it's actually, in some ways it was darker because the purity of mind control, you think you want it. And that starts to get into that world of like, you know, where victim remorse, right? Where they think they're asking for it. We have so many complex feelings about rape that to mirror it in the mind control stuff actually is a very smart move, because we get to feel complex feelings about a made up thing. So good choice. It's definitely the dark. They did it. They did everything that I thought they would do, and more for sure. It's definitely the darkest thing Marvel has done, and good. You don't have to make everything dark. I don't need the Fantastic Four to be dark, but some dark stuff happens too, just like in life, right? Not every day is spent at a funeral, and not every day is spent, you know, at Sky Zone, which is the name of a trampoline place that does not sponsor me, but I'll take the sponsorship. Sky Zone. It's the opposite of a funeral. Krysten Ritter was great. I thought she totally nailed the part. She doesn't look like Jessica Jones in the comics, but otherwise she is broken. There's like somebody needs to check on Krysten Ritter, because she looks a little like, oh, I'm cute, but like I look damaged. Or she just plays it really well. I kind of like that. Like, she also surprised me with how like badass she can be. She isn't a damsel. She was on Breaking Bad, right? But she's not the one who knocks. She is the one who breaks the locks. She doesn't even care. She just busts in and doesn't, I don't know. I totally bought her. I thought she did a great job. Totally admirable work. David Tennant still like stole the entire show, but no one can even compare to what he did. I'm trying to think if there's anything I didn't like. The twin subplot was weird. I don't know that I didn't like it. It was just weird. The Hogarth subplot was, okay, so there definitely were parallels. I could see reasons why we're seeing two versions of a broken relationship. We don't know what it's like to be mind controlled, but we do know, a lot of us know what it's like to be in a bad relationship and have a bad breakup. So they were able to like kind of weave us and connect us through it. But you could technically probably cut that entire story out and it still is mostly the same show. Except you would lose the 1,000 cuts thing, which was amazing and terrifying, but amazing. So I didn't love that storyline, but that's okay. No, we don't have to love everything. The pacing I thought was mostly good. Near the end, it doesn't help that I've not slept at all to be in an episode where they keep talking about needing to go to sleep. So that episode kind of like was a little bit sleepy for me. But and around then, so the Nuke subplot, or the Officer Simpson subplot, I'm actually excited about it, because it's like, oh, so many cool things can happen if they keep going with that, and they're going to introduce all these potentially more superpowered characters next season, maybe. But so there's a lot of cool stuff there, and I love the way that he's equated to like an evil Captain America. Like, that's so true to his story in the comics, but also so perfect for this like reflection, this negative reflection on the Avengers universe in Jessica Jones. So it's really cool just watching it the whole time with the idea that like that dude's, you know, Bizarro Captain America. He even looked like him. But they kind of like did his stuff like way too quickly, like just jammed in there, because I know that there was people watching it like binging with me, and you're just like, cool, oh, interesting, this character is getting a little dark. He's taking flag colored pills and he's talking to a shadowy government organization, and it just kind of like, whoa, takes off really fast there with his stuff. So I'm still excited about what it means, but it also was like, wow, there's a lot happens really fast with them. I'm also realizing that my voice is all over the place, so if you're listening to bad sound right now, it's because we had to use a backup microphone because I'm unreliable at the moment. You're welcome. Okay, overall, of course I'd do it again. I thought it was great. I probably am gonna end up watching it again. I'm sure there's plenty that you want me to talk about that I'm just totally blanking on. It's because, I'm sorry, the whole thing's a blur right now. I remember they love glass. Glass is such a big part of this, and doorways. But if there's anything that you think I missed now, or you want to know my opinion on, I probably did go into it in my in-depth analysis that I did after every single episode, which I don't know if it was the best idea to get into every single time. So I look forward to I'm gonna do, those episodes are gonna be coming out over the next couple of days. And every Easter egg I saw, every piece of analysis I could do, I jammed in there. And you'll see how I became this if you keep up with them. But I'm sure I'll put an annotation here somewhere for how to start that or go to those. It's 13 episodes, 13. Sorry, I'm not paying attention to my phone, I'm paying attention to you. I'm sorry. Watch those when they're up. Some of them are probably up by the time you're watching this. And in the comments here, let's talk about the whole series and ask me any questions you want, and you can tweet at me at Fimo. And here, spoilers galore if you want them, because we all have finished it. In the ones that I'm gonna post about all the other episodes, trying to keep spoilers out of those unless it's like up to that episode. So like episode 1, only episode 1, episode 2 can do 1 and 2, whatever. Because the people that are watching those are people that weren't as lucky as us and got to binge it all at once. I imagine some people will be watching this, you know, over Thanksgiving and all times when you're avoiding your family. So just try to keep spoilers out of all those if you can, please. Thank you so much for sticking with me through what's going to be a really interesting journey. I love you guys. I'm Filup Molina, by the way. Bye. I need all the sleep. I dropped the mic. Not in a cool way.